sometimes you don't actually want to voice what you're thinking. You just want to be able to relate to someone.
But they say that losing a partner is like losing your present, but also your future at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
It's hard to kind of digest that you're not someone's everything to get better. Trauma manifests itself in your body, and trauma is never dealt with unless it's dealt with.
I feel like with grief, as we know, it does impact your sense of stability, safety, things like that. So would you say, is there like any fears in regards to maybe being hurt again, or is there fears in regards to anything else about the previous love? Welcome back to Too Young To Grieve. And today I'm joined by Ross Kent, who shares wonderful, honest and powerful content around grief, men's mental health, and life after loss and the stuff that comes with that. So I appreciate you joining me today, Ross.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my God, it feels like an honour to be here. It's mad.
I think when you first started, did you expect anything like this, to be doing stuff like this, talking about it?
Not at all. I genuinely thought like, I'll post some videos and I'll get probably my sister or my brother or my close friends like it. And then fast forward 2 years, I've grown a platform and it's just wild to me. It's crazy.
And I think it's so brilliant that it's around something that you're so passionate about and something that like I said, life changing. Yeah. But you can just see how it's just yourself. And even when I met you today, it's just yourself. Yeah. So I think that's a credit to
it
you.
Is weird though, because I feel like for a long time on social media, it was hard to kind of find where I fitted in, because I'm a very sarcastic person, I'm a very jokey person, but I also talk about something really serious. Yeah. And it's taken me a while to try and find that kind of level field. So, but no, it's a privilege to be here.
No, I appreciate you coming down. And I think that's kind of a credit to yourself, the way that you can talk about grief and something so serious, mental health. And obviously we'll touch upon that. But then, like you say, you're just doing it in your own way, and people kind of resonate with that because you can have a joke, you can have a laugh. Yeah. But you're also getting across such a strong, powerful message, which is brilliant. Totally. So before we dive into things, I've been doing a little bit of a stalk on your content and things. Yeah. And I came across how you started to get into cooking a little bit. I saw you made a little carbonara the other day. So talk to me about that. Where's this come from? Is it you feel like, I need to learn how to cook now?
Oh God, right. So basically, it's really simple. So David was the cook. So David, obviously, who I was with for 10 years, and he was a trained chef. So he's originally from London, and he went to catering college. And he was an amazing cook, to the point where I've just said to you, I put on 7 stone. And when he passed away, he cooked all the time, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And what got me into cooking was I was really conscious about money, because I obviously had to take over all of the bills. So, and I thought, number one, the oven at home at my old house was rubbish. And number two, I was like, I need to save money. So I bought an air fryer.
Oh, the best.
They are literally, I could not live without.
You haven't got an air fryer, get one.
I have an aneurysm if I have to put the oven on. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I just started cooking things. And that's literally how it started. So now I've done a couple of videos on my TikTok where it's I look at the scraps in the fridge and it's what can I create out of scraps? And now I cook, probably 5 or 6 nights a week.
And how are the meals?
Obviously, they are. A couple of things have been a bit rogue, but 9 times out of 10, I'm like, that's actually banging. Yeah. So, I think out of all of this, I'm probably most proud about the cooking.
Brilliant. I think that's a good thing to get into, cooking, looking after yourself, but also it's obviously we'll touch upon things a bit more, but it's something that you've been able to pick up just through things that have happened. And it's quite interesting that when I saw it, I was like, I've got to ask you about the carbonara. As an Italian, I was
I just feel I think the harsh reality is you have to start doing things for yourself that you didn't do before. And one of those was cooking. And what is really difficult is cooking for one. And I would always kind of cook for 2, but then I would have the leftovers for lunch. But my carbonara is me and my sister's favourite. I remember I've always loved a carbonara.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
I mean, we'll see if I ever cooked it. I'll see what you think of it. But yeah, it's me and my sister's favourite dish.
Oh, I love it. I love it. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I've got to ask about the cooking. How's it coming along? Because I was the same when I first started going for my grief journey. I was like, I just really like cooking now. I was like, I think when I came back from uni, my mum was like, what's going on? I don't have to cook as much. Obviously, it's got a bit less now. Yeah. Sorry, mum. She's back cooking a bit more.
Sorry, mum.
But yeah, I think it's just very therapeutic as well.
It is. I really like listening to music.
Yeah.
I don't like anyone in the kitchen. Like, I am quite controlling. I'm like, get out. Don't want to be involved. But I like listening to music. I'm not a huge drinker, but I do like a tipple of something. And just chilling, cooking. I love now hosting for people. Hosting for friends, hosting for family, loved ones. So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, but I would say I'm pretty proud of it. So,
No, I love it. I love it. Keep it going. I want to see more dishes.
Yeah, I'll do that. Just to make sure.
No, brilliant. Okay, you touched on it a bit about David. Just for people who don't know your story or maybe don't know yourself, just give them a little bit of background. Where did it all begin? How did you get into social media?
Of course.
The story. Your story.
My story. So, David was my late partner. So, Dave and I were together for almost 10 years. And David took his own life. And at the time, it was in a bit of a transitional period because I'm not from Wales. I live in Wales now. And I was desperate to come home. And I have very limited, at the time, I had a very, very limited support network. So I had my mum and I had my one friend in Wales. And yeah, he took his life in January. It was, I think, a long process for him. He always suffered with his mental health. And I knew kind of about 5 years into the relationship how he struggled mentally, how hard it was for him. And unfortunately, I think it just got all too much for him. So yeah, he died in January. And there was a large period, and this is the thing, with my social media, I was filming things on my phone for about a year, but I wasn't necessarily posting a lot. And I don't know whether it was confidence or just, when you start something new and you're just not sure what to do. And my best friend Alicia, she kind of says to me, look, I really think you should do this. I think it'd be really good for you. I think it'd be really good for other people. And she kind of kept on, and I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I just started posting, and I kind of tried to find, what was relatable, because I think there's nothing worse than going on social media. And I feel like now, because I've had all of those big things, all of the materialistic things that people strive for, I've had all those. And actually, my partner still took his own life. So to me, it's nice to have nice things, but they're not the be all and end all. And I wanted to kind of put out content where people that were suffering like me, they could come and they could find a friend. And just find relatable content. And sometimes you don't actually want to voice what you're thinking. You just want to be able to relate to someone. And that's literally, it just kind of then took off. And I've had some viral videos, and I'm now kind of just starting to find my groove and finding my audience. And yeah, we're literally, I started seriously posting in April, so we're not even a year yet. So yeah, it's mad.
It is crazy, and I think, firstly, thank you very much for sharing your story. And obviously, it's such a difficult topic. Mental health, men's mental health in particular, is obviously something that, we just don't really talk, and men for some reason. And I think that kind of relates to what you're talking about in terms of sharing content. Do you feel like you said, finding your audience and just wanting to be someone's grief bestie, is that like a healing tool for yourself, would you say, talking about it?
Yeah, I would, because I feel like, I'm such an advocate for therapy, and when David died, I had two on the go. I had two psychiatrists on the go, and they were tackling different things in my life. One of them was specifically looking at the grief of David, and the other was kind of my life in general. So I'm such an advocate for therapy, and I actually, my therapy kind of ended quite quickly, and people may think, why was that? And I think the dark kind of area of mental health was that I obviously knew that David was struggling. And I think for my own protection, I started, and this is not normal. This is absolutely not normal. But But I started thinking about worst case scenario. So if he was having a really bad day, and again, I don't want to talk for him, but I just want to kind of explain my thought process. If there was a day where, and I'm sure other people that can relate to this, that know someone that struggles with mental health, if there was a day when he was really struggling, say for instance, walking the dogs, if I went out to walk the dogs, I would think, okay, you may come back and he may not be alive. So this is what you need to do moving forward. You need to call the police, you need to call whoever it is. And I would start creating these plans in my head. So there was a long period of time where internally I was doing a lot of processing. So when I came out the other side, as in when we've kind of got through that really difficult period, I think maybe people online may think, well, he got over that really quick. And it's like, you don't see all of the hard work before, because I wasn't posting for a year, you know? I mean, it's interesting, someone, and no hate at all, someone commented on my video yesterday saying, I respect the fast transition to your new life, because obviously I'm now dating. And it's not a fast transition, it's 2 years. And even though it is a short amount of time, I've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know? So I say, like, you pay your debts with grief. And I've paid every single debt. So it's now time to voice my story, voice David's story in a respectful way, but move on. You know?
Yeah, and I really respect that, because I think, so obviously we know how social media is. People are always going to have their opinions, and I guess as people who do create content, you've got to be prepared that someone is going to comment something that you probably won't like, especially on such a difficult matter.
Yeah.
But I think the way that you've sort of described your situation and how it wasn't, you know, it's not just 2 years, it's 2 years of really hard work, and also people don't understand the work that you've just mentioned that you put in beforehand as well. You were thinking about these things before, working with psychologists before. So it's almost, as I spoke about with someone the other day, anticipatory grief. You're kind of, you know, is something going to happen here? Did you ever have, like, how was that side of things where you sort of dealing with the internal thoughts that you mentioned, thinking about things?
I think looking back now, I wouldn't necessarily voice them, but like talking to like my family, my friends, I was different. And physically, looking at me, I was different. I mean, I've lost about 7 stone. Madness, brilliant. Absolutely unreal. But you could see I was unhappy. And I think there was so much, and what kind of happened when David passed away, or was announced that he passed away on the Friday, all of my family and my best friend came, and then my friends came on the Saturday. And at that point, everything that I'd kind of put under the rug, and of course, like, you always talk to your family and your friends about, like, if you've had a bicker with your partner, or you know, you're not getting on, or whatever, like, that's kind of just like human nature. But I'd put so much under the rug that I then had to start explaining what I put under there. And again, I was an adult, you know, I was in a mature relationship, and it was just about time I was honest. So yeah, it's just one of those things that unless you've kind of been through it, it's so hard to kind of understand. Yeah,
I think that's a big reason why I do what I do, because with grief, it is like that, isn't it? Unless you've sort of been through it, and we wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
No, of course not. No,
it is hard to understand.
Yeah.
And I think there are so many different types of grief as well, and obviously we'll touch upon the grief that you've experienced.
Of course,
because different griefs bring different reactions and bring different things that come with it as well. Like you touched upon the house, the situation, bills, things like that afterwards. I think that's something that people don't realise you've got to deal with. After grief, you've got to, you're grieving the person, but it doesn't stop the fact that you've got to sell a house, you've got to deal with these bills, the will, like, who even knew about that stuff, like what to do?
I know. And that was the biggest thing for me. And I think my story is quite unique in the sense of, I was in Wales, and as I've kind of pointed out, all of like my large support network is back in the south. And I remember like all my family came down that weekend, and they left on the Monday because they've also got jobs, they've got children. And I remember it was just me and the 3 dogs, and I was beside myself, and I was like, it's just us. And that was kind of the start of, it took me 2 years to sell the house that David and I owned. And I had to then start dealing with, there was an inquest. I had to do that. I had to plan a funeral. I had to go and identify his body. I went to the Chapel of Rest. I mean, I think it was our 10-year anniversary. I went to the Chapel of Rest. I spent our anniversary at the Chapel of
Mhm.
Rest. And that was the first time I'd seen him since he died. And all of these things, I feel like they change your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
And it was an uphill battle. It was a slog. And I remember, and this is something that I really want to kind of touch upon, it's the trauma
Yeah.
and how profound those feelings are, how they completely overtake your body.
Yeah.
It's scary.
What do you want to say in regards to
I
that? Because
just-
I know, yeah, it literally impacts your body physically as well as obviously everything else that
Yeah.
it impacts. How did you sort of navigate that, I guess?
I genuinely, and I don't want this to come across disrespectful in any way to anybody, but obviously I'd lost grandparents, and of course it was sad. And I thought, is this kind of looking back? I thought, is this grief? The grief that I experienced, and again, I'm not everyone's grief is different. I'm just talking about my own personal. The grief that I experienced was horrific in the sense of it completely took my body. I mean, David passed away in January, and then his funeral was in March, and from March till about April, I'd lost almost 2 stone. So in about 6 weeks, I think it was, and I was hospitalised twice. So I've got a cracking scar on the back of my head where I collapsed. And I remember being so beside myself with all my family members, saying, "I'm so ill, but I can't tell you what's wrong.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've been hit by a car." And I would, like my good friend in Wales, she took me to the hospital twice. And I would always be at the doctors saying, "I need you to run a test." I developed, I think, health anxiety.
Yeah.
And I lost so much weight. Mentally, I was doing really well because I think I was exercising.
Mm-hmm.
I say doing really well. I think I was doing the best that I could. But it was the physical aspects, and I had this flare up, that flare up. Again, I was always at the doctors, just looking for an answer. To the point of the trauma of me having my accident, I got referred to ears, nose, and throat clinic, and subsequently now, I mean, I'm still waiting for the invitation to go to the appointment, but I now have a private trauma specialist where I do it privately, and he's actually said to me, like, it's got nothing to do with, so I feel pressure here. And everyone think I was mad. I remember going on holiday with my friends, and we went to Ibiza, and I had kind of bicarbonate soda and water, and I was trying to flush out my sense, and they thought I was crazy. And I was like, I don't know why this feeling is not going. It was trauma.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you touched upon this topic. I think it's something that gets so often ignored, or not ignored, maybe that people don't actually know that it impacts you physically. Like you said, you feel like you've been literally hit by a bus.
Yeah.
But you can't explain to anyone why.
No.
But the reason why is literally grief.
It's literally grief. It's stress.
So if you go into the doctors, to put it politely, they're going to say you've just got so much stress and trauma from the grief.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain that to someone else who hasn't been through it. But I think, like you said, look, everyone's grief is different.
Totally.
Everyone experiences grandparents, pets. There's different types of grief. There's so many different types of grief. But when you do go through something so traumatic, and depending how close and personal your relationship with the person, it can really impact your body as well as your mind.
Yeah.
So just touching upon that then, because you mentioned exercise, how did you sort of deal with those thoughts and physical feelings, I guess?
I think it's really difficult because at the time, I couldn't see the wood through the trees. And I remember, again, when my family left on that Monday morning, I remember saying to myself, right, Ross, and there's no rule book to this.
Exactly.
There's no dummy guide. There's no like grief for dummies or whatever. And I thought, right, Ross, like, how are we going to do this, mate? Like, how are we going to get you through this? And I remember, and I say this to people now when I speak to them on my socials, don't worry about what you're doing next week. Don't worry about what you're doing tomorrow. Worry about, okay, so it's 9 o'clock. Are you going to have breakfast?
Yeah.
Are you going to have lunch? Are you going to watch a film? You know, do you need to go out and exercise? Are you going to work today? Do you need to feed the dogs? Think about that. Don't think about, right, so by, next week I want to be able to find a cure for a disease or climb Kilimanjaro. Don't worry about that. That will come later on. Let's just get you one foot in front of the other. And I think that's kind of what I did every single day. And I never got up until to this day, and everyone's kind of story is different. I never kind of laid in bed and thought, I don't want to get up today. I had to get up because of the dogs. So Dave and I mean, I've only got two now because Mum's passed away Christmas Eve, but I had to get up for them. I was their lifeline. And I suppose we trundle along together. And something that I've never really admitted, and I think I'd probably be scared to, would be if I didn't have the dogs back then, I probably would have done the same as David. Because I just didn't know what to do. And as much as my support network were amazing, I still thought, you have no idea what I'm going through. So how can you help me? But because of those dogs, and that's why like I take being their dad so seriously. And like now I've got Min and Stan, it's just like the three of us now, as in who's left. I take that role really seriously because they got me through it. And I know it sounds so silly, but it was just adopting a routine that isn't to do with, or no longer is involving David. I like pay the bills, I run the house, I walk the dogs, I take them to the vet, I do all of those things. So it was just, you've just got to find a routine that works for you. Yeah. And that's what I did.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, honestly. I know you said it was a bit scary to say that, but I think, honestly, how much respect I have for you sharing that and still being here today and doing what you're doing is such a credit to yourself, because going from that position of thought to inspiring loads of people online is like for other people to just look, wow, like you say, it's not easy.
No.
But you can keep going.
You literally can. And I think what's really important is to understand it's that like, I know now that grief, I'm never going to be the same ever again. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's like, okay, so what do we do with this then? How do we move forward with this? Because it's not leaving. Nor am I, evidently, because I'm still here. So how are we going to get along as friends? Because I do say this. I say grief is the unwanted friend. It's there to greet you. And you're like, oh, shit, here we go. Like, hi. Yeah. You know, it's like the white rabbit.
Never lets you know when it's coming,
no,
does it? It just
and then it
rocks
literally,
up at the door.
Yeah, and then it knocks on the door again.
Yeah, and it's true. It is true. Like, it's there. Unfortunately, it is there. And how we, like you said, which I think is the best way to put it, move forward with it, as tough as it is, how are we going to do that? Yeah. And I think for people to know that it's not anything, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like you said, just one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. Yeah. What am I having for breakfast today? What am I going to do? Yeah. Like, just simple things at first. Easy things, nothing too hard on yourself. No. And yeah, I think it's brilliant that you've touched upon that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to go back to what you said a bit earlier on about obviously the support network and how you were in Wales and everyone else had to come up and then you were on your own for a bit. I know that there's a lot of people message me and they say that they are on their own and they are alone and they don't feel like they have anyone they can talk to. How do you navigate this when you are on your own?
I think what's really important is to like understand what your resources are and use them to your advantage. So if you are on your own, look at support groups locally, join clubs. You know, if you are into like exercise, join a running club. If you are into, you know, you like doing watercolours, join a craft club. I think that's really important. I think social media, everyone has social media now, and I'm now starting to see that with my audience, we are all starting to get to know each other because we are always there, like talking to each other. So just because physically you are on your own, you're actually not. You just need to utilise the resources. And I think I am pretty good with like, and I think all people like this on social media, if you do reach out to someone like in the DMs, I think people do respond back. So that would be my main focus would be just utilising the resources that I know are easily accessible to me. Yeah,
100%, I agree. I think I was probably in a similar boat where I was like, I don't know who to speak to. I had my friends at university, but my family were at home, and obviously my friends didn't quite understand it, understandably. But there are groups out there. There's charities. The Lost Foundation is brilliant. Yeah. There's so many charities and so many groups, and like you say, people like yourself, like myself, who talk about it online, happily will talk and just be there for you. But I think you're not alone, and there is someone that you can always reach out to. And I think just having that understanding and someone being there for you is such a brilliant thing to use and utilise, like you say, which is brilliant.
Totally agree.
I just wanted to touch upon going back to something in regards to David, who was your partner. We've had all different types of people talk about different types of loss, but they say that losing a partner is like losing your present, but also your future at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, for me personally, I always knew the struggles that David went through, and I know that he loved me, and he loved the dogs, and when he was his happiest, he loved his life. But I also understood that I think his mental health kind of took precedent in his mind most of the time. So I remember, I think it was probably 4 to 5 weeks before he passed away. We were in the kitchen, I was cooking lunch, and I said, how do I get you to care? Not about me, not about the dogs, about yourself. Because in my head, I thought, if we can get you to a place where you care about yourself, everything else will just fall naturally into place. And he just turned around to me and said, I don't think you can. And at that point, I knew that actually things might be going west here. And so when you think about your question, it's all I ever wanted was for him to be happy. And I wanted him to find peace, whether that's here with me or here with the dogs or where he is now. That's the most important thing for me. And I know that we had an amazing life together. At times we had a really bad life together, but it's a legacy that I'll never forget. And I use that legacy, and I use everything that he's taught me and this situation moving forward. You know, looking into like new relationships, whether it's a love interest or personal relationships, as in friends, it's how can you be, you know? And it is really difficult. It's hard to kind of digest that you're not someone's everything to get better. But that's also okay, because I think when they're dealing with mental health, you are important, but the main kind of crux of it is, how do I say this? They just want to be happy. They want to be at peace, whatever that is.
Yeah. It's obviously something that would be very difficult to hear.
Yeah.
And for yourself, when you had that response,
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine how to respond to that and that side of things. But I think that kind of links back to the mental health side of things and pandemic that we do have at the moment. There's only so much one person can do.
Yeah.
How did that sort of feel when you did hear that again?
David and I would have conversations about how he would feel, and at the time I would think they were normal conversations. But I think someone that was completely new to grief, or actually no, I think they are just very strange conversations to have. We would talk openly about death, and looking back now, I think no, actually it was normal for us, but the topic isn't normal. And again, I tried everything that I possibly could to get him help, try to find different ways of therapy, because he didn't necessarily agree with therapy. And again, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm such an advocate for therapy. And it was, how do I find a way that will make him better by not talking to someone? And trying to, talk to clinicians. I mean, I remember when we first moved to Wales, there was a point where he was really, really depressed, and he wouldn't tell me who his doctor was. So I was at work, I had to ring round every kind of doctor in South Wales area to try and find who I could find to get him in to talk to someone. Because if someone doesn't want to do it, they're not going to do it, and you can't force them. I'm such an advocate for that. So that's the sad reality of it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's difficult because sometimes people have to want to do it themselves and want to have to get the help and things like that. And I guess all you can really do is try your best, like you said, to help them find the things that are gonna work for them. Because like you said, and I strongly agree, I absolutely love therapy. I think it's brilliant. I think if someone hasn't tried it yet, it's definitely worth a go.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I understand that not everyone does want to do that. So it's kind of like, how can I help find something that you would like, but also know that it is down to them as well. They have to want to do it as well.
Yeah.
But that's where, you know, you can utilize resources, like you said, and hope that someone can get through.
Yeah.
But you can only do so much.
Of course you can.
With that side of things, then on the mental health topic, why do you think that people find it so hard to, especially men, talk about their feelings? Let's say.
I don't know whether it comes from society, in the sense of men have to be the alpha male. Men have to be. They run the home. You know. When you talk about kind of heterosexual relationships, you know, majority of the time is the woman that stays home with the baby, and the man goes out to work. I don't know whether those kind of ethoses kind of has stayed with us, that now men do find it really difficult to talk. And I think it's all about, again, I may be talking completely out of turn, but is it a pride thing? Is it that self-preservation thing? I don't know. But I know that things need to change. And I think we need to start looking at kind of different avenues where men can express themselves in ways that they feel comfortable, whether it be, I don't know, journaling, or they can't speak to someone, but attending a workshop that other like-minded men go to. It's a really tough one, I think, because I know when my mental health is kind of dipping, and I know what I need to do straight away, so I do it. But other people that may not know what fits them right, I think it's really difficult, but there is an epidemic.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like you said, just having the things there that for the people that don't want to talk, or for the people that don't want to go for a run, or don't want to journal, and they don't know what to do, there's the opportunity for them to find that out and figure it out.
Yeah.
And like you say, like even just workshops where people can go and they don't have to speak, but they feel like, wow, I feel understood here.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I can speak after that, or I want to go and do something like that. But 100%, there is an epidemic. And I think I kind of agree with you. I think it's the society thing. I think, you know, like the man has to be strong. Real men don't cry. All of these sayings that we hear. And it's crazy to hear it still goes on.
I know.
Even knowing the figures that are out there for these things.
I know. And I think as well, I mean, obviously our NHS are amazing, but they're underfunded, they're understaffed. And things do fall through the cracks, you know. But unfortunately, someone that has suffered the downfall of that, how do you explain that to them, you know? So, we need more resources on it. We need more money in it. We need more funding. And that's kind of why, like, when I took this career break, because, again, going through the last 2 years, not really having a minute to figure out, actually, what do I want to do now moving forward, I took 4 months off. And I've now, like, right, I'm going to go to university and become a psychologist. Because, actually, in order to see change, you have to be a part of the change. So I've done my first week at university, and it's amazing. It's great. And, you know, hopefully, fast forward 3 years, I will qualify, and, you know, we move to London, and I then open my own practice, whatever. So I feel like you have to start doing things, even if it's like minute, you have to start doing things that will enable change.
I think it's brilliant that you're doing what you're doing. You're using the experience now, like you say, trying to help with that change. And one of my favourite sayings is, pain is where purpose lives.
Totally.
And I think it goes to show, you know, what you've been through, but you're now using it to try and help people who are going through that side of things as well. When it comes to mental health, men's mental health, how have you sort of thought about things with your grief journey? How has that made you sort of think about men's mental health from that perspective, let's say?
I think, I don't know whether, I'm going to say something, I don't know whether being gay has any kind of bearing on that, in the sense of, is this person, like when I get online, I film a video and people see it, is this person, they just look at it and it's like, he's just gay and he's crying? Or is it a case of, are we looking at it as, and again, I'm not putting the gay card whatsoever, I'm just kind of looking at kind of different avenues. Or is it a case of that we actually are just looking at a man that's upset because of grief? And I think I find it really difficult to kind of understand, or to kind of paint a picture of grief in the sense of, and how do I say this? Like for me, mental health is so individual.
Yeah.
And there could be things that like you may find really difficult, and I'd be like, okay, I'm not really understanding why that's so difficult to you, but I respect it, and vice versa, right? But I feel like we just need to be completely open and transparent and honest. And actually, it doesn't matter who the individual is. It doesn't matter whether you like girls or boys, whether you're a person of colour or whether you're a white person. That doesn't matter. It's actually, how can we help this person? What they're going through. And I think that is so important. Don't worry about everything else. That's not important. How can we help this person?
Yeah, exactly that. Doesn't matter, like you said, about absolutely anything.
No.
One of the most universal things in the world is grief. And as much as everyone grieves differently, we're all experiencing similar things.
Yeah.
In the sense that we've lost someone or something that's very important to us.
Yeah.
So, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world,
yeah,
you're going through something tough, and how can we help that person?
Totally.
And that's part of grief, and that's why it's so good that you're doing what you're trying to do with the psychology. What people are doing with different. Seen a brilliant website recently called Reasons to Stay.
Yes.
And I think just stuff that just comes up, and I'm like, wow, people are really, really trying to help just people with their grief and with mental health.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't matter who the person is.
No, it doesn't.
Need a reason to stay.
Totally. And I feel like, for me, like with trauma, I never realised that trauma, and again, looking back at it now, I think actually it's so simple, Ross. Trauma manifests itself in your body, and trauma is never dealt with unless it's dealt with. And I remember when I started my journey, and I was going to my trauma specialist, my EMDR specialist, and he was saying, if we don't deal with this, Ross, you're going to end up with an autoimmune disease because of the stress that your body's gone under. And I was like, okay, then fine. When I started talking about it, a lovely woman, I can't remember her name, reached out to me in my comments and said, my husband passed away and I didn't deal with the trauma, and now I have an autoimmune disease. And I feel like I'm, again, such an advocate of, we need to be pushing EMDR. Like, if you can get an EMDR specialist, do it, because you need to get the trauma out of your body. And it's just wild what you learn going through an experience.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that you talk about that and getting the trauma out. It was even, I saw something the other day, and it was talking about nutrition. It was a nutrition specialist, and he was talking about gut health. I absolutely love talking about gut health because it links to that. It's literally your second brain. But it was saying that if you haven't dealt with the trauma in your body, it's going to be very hard for you to lose weight or for you to build muscle, do these things. And it just highlights the fact that without being able to feel the grief and understand the grief and work on the grief, it can show up in physical things like that. And it's a crazy thing. But yeah, it's just about how can we help people to understand that they can feel it and can get through it.
Totally.
It's not easy at all, but that's what we're trying to work to do.
Yeah, totally.
So just touching upon what you touched upon before about the strong, the real, real men, this type of thing. Through your grief journey, what has being strong, what does that mean to you now?
Getting up every single day when you don't want to. Doing things that you don't want to do. Doing things that you feel like you shouldn't have to do. I, like, through my journey, because I've been so in tune with what happened, I don't necessarily get angry an awful lot. And I only get angry where I've had to do things that I feel like I've had to step up to the mark. Whether it be selling my house that took 2 years, or going to identify David's body, or planning a funeral. Those are the points where I get really angry because I don't want to deal with this, but I have to.
Yeah.
And it's doing the things that you don't want to do. Doesn't matter whether it's big or small. You don't want to do it and it upsets you and it makes you feel a certain way that is negative. I feel like that is being strong.
Yeah. I love that answer. I think that's a brilliant answer.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that could cover and people might not want to do, even if it's talking to someone or going to a mental health workshop or whether it's making breakfast in the morning. There's so many different things that does cover. And like you said, if you don't want to do it, it's probably something that will help you out.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, it's not easy to want to to go and do something that you don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do it, it will help you massively.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a brilliant answer, because the word strong, it gets chucked around a lot,
Yeah.
especially in grief. You know, stay strong.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to stay strong, but
What is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and grief definitely shows you a different
Yeah.
way to look at the word strong.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Totally.
So yeah, I love that answer. I love that a lot. Just touching upon things again in regards to mental health, in regards to the suicide topic. Suicide often, the grief that comes with it is very different. It's very different because it's very surprising, very shocking, and it often comes with quite a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
How have you sort of learned to live with that confusion of things?
Again, I think for me, because I was so in tune with what was going on, I've never felt confused about what's happened. I do say I can't believe what's happened has happened, but that's purely the journey that I've been on. And like I don't doubt for a second. You will understand what I mean by this when I say I could be having a normal conversation with someone about, you know, what I'm doing today, or I've just been on a run and it was amazing. But in my head, I'm replaying the 2 days that David was missing.
Yeah.
I think about that every single day. And I remember certain points of each day, you know, talking to this police officer, you know, agreeing kind of a marketing campaign to like a missing poster, blah, blah, blah. And all of those things, I think about them all the time. So for me, like, there's no confusion because I understand them. But for other people, like, loads of people reach out to me that have suffered suicide loss, and they're like, I just wasn't expecting it. And there were no signs. And I kind of say to them in like the most respectful way, there doesn't have to be a sign. Mm-hmm. Someone could, their exterior, they could have everything in order, but inside they're crumbling.
Yeah. And
they see a brief moment where they think, I can get peace, and that's when they go, or they do whatever they need to. So I completely respect that the confusion comes in, and I think how I would kind of work through that is, and actually you can flip it on its head. You can look through like old photos, you can talk about them, go to the places that you love to go to together. That I think builds, kind of irons out the confusion, and actually start looking at them in a fond way, not what's happened. That's still very important. Yeah. To understand what's happened and dealing with all of those issues, but actually moving forward, how can I move forward with fondness?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting perspective on it, because obviously it's something very sensitive, a sensitive topic. Like you say, you've got to understand the grief, and it can be very confusing. But also, you have so many lovely memories, and the fondness, like you say, how can you still remember those things as well? And that, like I say, I can't imagine it, but it must really help with that confusion.
Yeah. And like, even just like simple things like when I look at the dogs, like Min and Stan, and even like Monster, like they are everything that we put into them. And they are like the best, like they are amazing. And don't get me wrong, they get on my nerves at times. But I think about everything that's ingrained in them. It's something so silly, but the dogs was mine and David's shared love. Yeah. They are just so well behaved, and even when like Monty died Christmas Eve, Min and Stan have taken it in their stride. And you know, we've moved house, we've sold a house. You know, me and Stan have been through everything together. And just by looking at that, I'm like, you've got like your shit together, guys, and I really am proud of you. Because we just had to trundle along together. So yeah, it's mad. Yeah. It's mad.
I think it's like you say, it may be like a mum looking at her kid, for example, and thinking, we made that kid, and look at him carrying forward the person that we've lost. It's the same sort of thing. It's like there's still things that you can carry forward, and they're still there. They're still there. They've still left that print on the world, and I think that must help with confusion as well, knowing that still have that, which is brilliant for people to hear, I think. I just want to read you something. So we briefly talked about this before, but I watched a film last night, which I think is brilliant. For anyone who hasn't watched it, when you're ready to, it's called Good Grief. And the main character said this, and I've never heard this before, but I think it relates to what we talked about the flashbacks, about how you feel in your body.
Mm-hmm.
The brain is like a muscle. It's why getting over death is so hard, because your brain has been trained to feel things for a person, and when they go away, your head is still operating under the impression that it should feel those things for that person. It's almost like muscle memory. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's like spot on, and I think what's really important to highlight is that for someone that's been through grief or trauma, your body goes into fight or flight mode for such a long time, and it's really easy to fall into that. And I feel like I've been in fight or flight mode for years. Like, my parents separated when I was really young, and again, I'm like, my life has been kind of ups and downs, you know, and now with David, but I feel like it's really easy to fall into fight or flight mode, but it's so difficult to come out of it. And you have to sit there every single day and you unpick just a little bit each day. And it's adopting really healthy habits. And I know that if I'm not eating healthily, if I'm not exercising or socializing or doing all those things, and I've got, you know, external factors, I know my fight or flight mode is going to be crazy. And even like going to see my EMDR specialist, when he was kind of looking at all the traumas in my body, he was like, how do you get up every day? I went, I literally have no idea. Because there is so much. But it's really hard. That muscle memory, it's really hard to break it. And that is, I think, one of the things that actually I think people have to kind of sit there and digest and go, I'm actually not going to be the same. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and think, well, I'm never going to remember David again on what happened. You have to go, yeah, it's here to stay. So actually, let's come to arrangement how we can get this, you know, working to the best of our ability.
That's it.
You know?
I think it's so important for people to hear that and understand that. It's not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. But how can we learn to deal with it and move forward with it? Because it does literally impact your body, your brain. That quote literally summarizes it perfectly. It does really impact you physically and mentally, and finding ways. Whether it's through therapy, whether it's through movement, like you say, you know, when you're not eating well, you're not moving. That trauma's just going to be sitting there. So how can we bring it up, get it out, move it forward, and we keep going with it? Because it is there. That's grief.
And I do think it's actually it's a blessing to find. And again, I've now started to understand the simple things in life are genuinely the best. Like when I have got like my eating like is under control, I'm exercising, I'm unstoppable. Like, I know exactly what I need to do. I feel great. When I'm not doing those things, I'm a mess. You know? So it's really important. I like such an advocate for find what makes you feel good and do it. Do it, like, repeat over and over and over again.
I think that's such a big thing for people to take on board. Like, if something makes you feel good, just keep doing it. Keep doing it. And obviously try and pick the good stuff, because you know you could be eating junk food and it makes you feel good.
Do like an 80-20.
So finding the things that are proven to be good things for people, and keep going with those. Because everyone's different. Everyone's going to enjoy different things. So find the thing that works for you, and that will really help you to move forward with your grief. Talking about moving forward, I've seen recently that you're back in the dating scene, and I think it's really important for us to touch upon this, because I think it shows a sign of growth with the grief, and I think it could really help some people, because they might be at a point where they're like, I can never go back to dating again, or I can never go back to working again, whatever it is. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the growth, the rebuild. When did you sort of think, okay, I'm ready to get back out there and start dating again?
It's really difficult to like pinpoint, because I feel like it's all relevant to like the time in my life. So like there may be points in time where like shortly after David passed away, it may be a case of like, am I ready to do it now? Or actually then period of time passes and then you think actually now's the right time. And I think there's no kind of like pinpoint time when I was ready, because there is so much that's going on in my brain. So I just knew that I was ready for love. And obviously I'm dating one person and they're amazing. And this is what I say like in my dating series, it's I have baggage, but my baggage is all under control. And But you have to accept that baggage.
Yeah.
Because I am never not going to talk about David. I'm never not going to talk about what happened to him, what happened to me. If you can't accept that, if you can't accept the dogs, it's a no from me. So going into dating, I remember when we first started talking, and I was like, I need to ask you 3 questions. And he was like, right, go for it. And I said, have you got any mental health issues? Not that that's an issue, but if you do, I want to make sure that you've got the structures in place for those, because I don't want to go through what I've just gone through. I said, what you like with dogs? You accept dogs. Do you want to get married? I really want to get married. And have you got children? I personally don't want children, but if they've got children, amazing, like fine. And he ticked all the boxes, and he has accepted me and the dogs for everything that we are. And going into a new personal relationship, I am different, and I'm a lot more emotional, and communication is a big thing. Like I like to communicate, and I will always say, I just need to say this, or can we talk about this, and that's something. Dave wasn't a big communicator. We didn't really communicate. So going into it, it's completely different. And that's also good. But I think it's also like, I'm never going to forget about what's happened. So the two can run parallel with each other, and they don't have to cross over.
That's so interesting to hear. And I think it's brilliant for people who are potentially in a similar position where you're not really sure when, and like you said, there was no sort of pinpoint moment that you thought, I'm ready. But I think the fact that you say that you're still gonna always talk about David, a lot of your content talks about David and that side of things, and the fact that you can still find love whilst still holding the love that you have for David is brilliant. Because I think they say that you don't replace love, but you expand it. Is that how you sort of feel like things are now, where you're not replacing David's love, but you're just expanding on it?
Yeah, totally. And I feel like you can love, like, we have so many loves of our life, in our life. And David is not the love of my life anymore, for obvious reasons. But I still love him. But the love is different. I look at him, I look at him and I think about him in fondness of him. And moving into other personal relationships where, you fall for someone and you love someone, that's now going to be different. But the love for David, yes, it has changed, but it's always going to be there.
100%. The love is always there, whether it's for a partner, parent, grandparent, it'll always be there. That's what grief is, isn't it? As everyone says, grief is love with nowhere to go.
Totally.
So it's always going to be there. It's just you can still have more love to build on top of that. So I think that's really good for people to hear, I'd say, on that side of things. In terms of like dating, so I haven't really been in the dating scene, to be honest, after my dad, and whether it's because I'm focused on other things, but that's a story for another day. But I feel like with grief, as we know, it does impact your sense of stability, safety, things like that. So would you say, is there like any fears in regards to maybe being hurt again, or is there fears in regards to anything else about the previous love?
That's really interesting that you asked that question, because someone literally asked me last week, in the sense of, actually no, I was talking to one of my really good friends, and I was saying that life is all about risk. And you have to decide what that risk is and how big of a risk is that to you. Of course, getting into a new relationship, things might go sour. Whoever it is. Or, even like you start a new job. I moved to Wales to become a solicitor. I was there, I think, 2 years, and I quit. Like, there are all risks. Some risks pay off, some risks don't. And it's like, if they do pay off, how amazing. And I know, like, I've got all of my shit in order. I know that, and I know, and again, I don't know whether this is double-edged sword. I am not scared of anything now, because I've been through the trenches. So if something really negative and bad was happening, I mean, Monty literally died like 5 weeks ago. Of course, I was upset about it, but I don't get scared of things, because I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I've been through the darkest times of my life, and I've got through it. Like I used to say, I remember looking up at rock bottom thinking, how do I get there? I've passed rock bottom. Like I'm so far past it. And it's like, what's life without a little risk? Like you've got to, whether it's for love, whether it's for whatever it is. And it's the same with like social media.
Yeah.
You've got to put yourself out there. Of course I'm going to get hate. Like, of course I am. Of course I'm going to get, people's opinions. That's fine. But that's the risk that you take.
Yeah. And I think that's what grief teaches us,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Like you say, we've been at our lowest points.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a risk and see what happens.
Yeah.
I've already been at rock bottom, so I think I can deal with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But also the reward, like you say, that can come with those risks going forward, it's worth a go, isn't it?
Everyone deserves to be happy.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And I feel like as long as you're not harming me, you're not harming anybody else, you're not harming yourself, you do whatever you want. As long as you are happy, that's the most important thing.
Definitely.
And I just think, just do it.
So what has grief taught you about love then?
What has grief taught me about love? There's two caveats to this. It's taught me that sometimes love isn't enough. And that's okay. But love is everything. Because moving forward with my life, I will never forget about David. And I will always be, and I've said this how many times today, I will be an advocate for him, I'll be an advocate for the story. Everything that I've kind of put out online, I'm going to be an advocate for that, and I'm going to stand by that, I'm going to hold that by my chest. But yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword where love isn't everything, it's not enough, but it is everything at the same time. So take from that what you wish.
Yeah, I know. I've taken a lot from that, to be fair. I think that's really interesting. I think it's so interesting to get the perspectives on love and loss at the same time. Because I think it's like people say, grief and joy can coexist, and it's kind of the same thing, I guess. You've still got the love there, but it's alongside that grief. And I guess, is that because grief has made you sort of more emotionally open to things?
Yes, very much. I mean, I will cry at anything.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I just go on the internet and cry. And the simplest of things make me emotional, but also they also make me, like, I don't necessarily sometimes sweat the small stuff. Not saying I'm perfect, absolutely not. But what I do say online is, like, you could be walking down the street and you pass 5 people.
Yeah.
Those 5 people, they could have lost their mum, their dad, their child, their partner. Yeah. You don't know. So you literally have no idea what they're going through. And even like when I remember I was at the pits of my grief and depression, and I was planning a funeral for David and I was waiting for the inquest, I was going to the supermarket. People didn't know what I was going through. And it's the same with, you don't know the person that's in the fruit aisle, what they're doing. So actually just be like, if you can just be nice to someone, just be like, I hope you mate, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that's so true with grief. I think it just makes you, it's made me, and I think it's made a lot of people, feel a lot deeper, feel a lot more emotional. Yeah. And when you say emotional, like I said, it doesn't just mean, you're crying 24/7, but it means you kind of understand people and you think, okay, they beeped at me in traffic, don't know what's going on in their life, why they might be rushing to the hospital when they need to get through. So I think grief kind of makes you more aware of your emotions, of other people's emotions, and makes you sort of less scared to put them out there, I guess.
No, totally. And I think even just like the simple thing like how you articulate yourself with talking to someone. Yeah. You don't have to talk to them in a way that's like, do you know what I mean? Like, just be like respectful and just like talk to each other normally. Like, have an honest conversation. And like, I say like, you can be confrontational without being confrontational. Like, I could say to like you, like, you've really upset me, but I'm not shouting, I'm not swearing, I'm not like screaming, but I'm just saying, you've upset me. Okay, how do we work through this, Yeah. Just like simple, like human decency. Yeah,
and I think that's really important. Like, I think people are often worried to upset people by saying stuff like that. Like you say, you've upset me. But if you tell someone that, you can then work through that.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily a thing that grief has made us realise as such, but I think it does make you want to communicate things more, because you know that if you don't say it now, you potentially might not get the chance to say it.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that relates to what we've been talking about. You know, if you take risks now, why not? Life's too short. Go for it. Would that be a big piece of advice for people that you would say then?
I just think, just do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what people say. People are going to say it regardless. So just do it. Give them something to talk about.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I mean, one of my videos that went viral, someone left a really homophobic comment on it. So I clapped back because I thought, you're going to come into my space and start telling me my fortune when you don't know anything about it. And I clapped back, and Michael Barrymore liked the comment.
I love it.
So it's like, people are always going to say something.
Yeah.
And you're going to make decisions, whether we are talking specifically about grief. Like, if you're dating too soon, someone's gonna tell you, I think that's a little bit too soon, or you've handled a situation that you believe is the best way that you possibly can. Someone's gonna say to you, I don't think you should have handled it like this. Someone's always gonna have something to say. But at the end of the day, if you're doing right by yourself, you're doing right by the situation, no one can say anything that's gonna bother you.
Definitely. Like you say, it's not just content. It's not the way you're navigating your grief journey. It's whatever you do in life. There's always going to be someone having an opinion.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're doing what genuinely feels right for you and feels good to you, and you know this is what I want to do, then just go for it. If it makes you happy, like you say, then that's the main thing. That's what we all search for in this life, isn't it?
Completely.
Happiness and purpose, and do what feels right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I have one last question, which I always ask every guest at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And for yourself, it's for someone who's lost a partner.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you would want them to know?
What, as in David to know?
As in someone else who's lost a partner.
Knows. The one thing I'd want them to know is the best way out is always through. So don't go above your grief, don't go under your grief, don't go side, go through your grief. And I guarantee you will get out the other side.
Love it. It's almost like saying just feel the grief.
Yeah.
And go through it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Through. Yeah.
That's it. I love that. I think that's an absolutely brilliant way to finish the episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Honestly, I think there's so much that people can take from this episode. I completely respect everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And the way that you've reacted to something so difficult. But now, like we said, turning that pain into purpose is brilliant. For anyone listening who absolutely loved listening to you and wants to hear a bit more, where can they find you?
They can find me on TikTok, Ross Kent with 2 T's. Again, I'd love to come back, Luke, if you'd have me.
Definitely.
But yeah, we're on TikTok.
Perfect. Go give Ross a follow. Says some absolutely brilliant stuff and will definitely help you on your grief journey. But
thank you so much.
I hope that this has helped you on your grief journey, and we'll see you on the next episode of Too Young To Grieve.